In 2000, when I was first starting in the mortgage industry, I was coming out of a difficult situation in my life, and finances were definitely not good. I was living on my grandmother's couch. Rest in peace, Nanny. Thank you for letting me do that. And I was living out of 2 bags of clothes. And I had just a few $100s to my name when I was starting in my mortgage journey. We'll save the reason for another episode, but when you only have a few $100s to your name, and you're wanting to have leverage in your marketing, I could have done other things. I could have done the hustle and grind. I could have knocked on doors. I could have went and got door flyers. I could have done all that stuff, but I had grown an understanding of the strength of something called direct response marketing from one of my mentors in the mid 90s. And I was like, what can I do with this $200 or $300 so that I can reach the right prospect at the right time and get them to become a lead in my world that I could then close it and earn revenue. In this episode, I want to talk to you about one of the most important frameworks I've ever developed, and it's got a terrible name, and it's called the problem that precedes the purchase, or better known as TP3 in my agency world. If this is your first time here, we are here to talk about shifting your mind so you can shift your results so that you can get better results in your marketing, in your growth, in your business, and in your life. And this framework that I want to share with you today might sound simple, but is the catalyst for almost every successful campaign I've run in my businesses, as well as the campaigns we run for our clients at the agency now over the last 14 years, which have led to well north of multiple 9 figures in revenue. Now, I started this when I had no money, but if you're watching this and you're already well down your track and you're doing 7 or 8 figures, this works for you. It works if you're just getting started. So much so that I'm going to walk you through a brief case study from our inner circle, one of our inner circle members, who during one of our live strategy call sessions, I walked her through the way to think about applying this framework to her business as she's just getting started, and she had major breakthroughs, and everyone else in the room were like, wow. So let's talk about the problem that precedes the purchase, or the TP3 framework, as I think about it. To set the stage, we are building a campaign to reach to our ideal client persona, our ICP, our buyer persona, our client avatar, whatever the word is that you use to describe your perfect prospect, okay? We are doing marketing and advertising. We're not knocking on doors. We're not going out and putting flyers. We're not doing billboard and radio and TV. We are doing what's known as a direct response campaign. Now, to back you up, what was I thinking about when I was sitting on my grandmother's couch when I started thinking about this? Well, I had gotten mentored by one of the top real estate agents in the state of Nevada for a short window of time around 1995-96. And during that time, I noticed that of all of the most successful real estate agents that I was working with at the time, I was a young agent while I was in college. I was a real estate agent while I was in college. And I was at this company where this number 2 in the state real estate agent was a part of the company. And I just noticed he moved differently. I noticed he operated on a different flow. So in my curiosity, which by the way is a very important lesson to learn about business growth, is always be curious. So while I was being taught to cold call, I was being taught to door knock, I was being taught to take floor time, I was being taught to do all of the farming, all of the traditional things that you think about in sort of that selling way of doing things in the 90s and even through the 2000s. And I just happened to notice this guy moved differently. So I noticed that he had an invitation for younger or newer agents to come sit at an open house. And what he would do was he would market to get listings, and he would have other agents do the selling of the property. And so I happened to go and sit at one of his open houses. I really sat at more than one. And I started to notice that he used a certain type of strategy. And what he didn't do is ask everyone who walked in the house to buy that house. What he didn't do was send out flyers and say, oh, by the way, it's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths with 1,400 square feet, and it's $210,000. He did what I think may have led to this idea of the problem that precedes the purchase, and he would offer a free special report. And the free special report, if you came to the open house, would be something along the lines of how to buy this home with no money down, or how to buy this home at the lowest rate possible. And the report would be simply some information on either financing programs or a certain type of loan structure or something of that nature. It could have been how to raise your credit score 40 points so that you can qualify for this home. I mean, he had all kinds of reports. And what I noticed is, in exchange for the people picking up the report, they were getting something of value. They were getting something that would answer a question in their mind. And because he was different than almost every other agent at that time doing this, then he became what I would call a trusted advisor, and he elevated beyond just being a realtor. Fast forward to 2000. Well, in 2000, I start my first campaign, and I start thinking about this concept of, if I'm going to find and market to leads that are going to convert pretty fast, and I definitely needed leads to convert fast, and I was in the mortgage industry, so mortgages don't close in 2 days or 2 weeks. They take, traditionally 30 days. I needed to figure out, how am I going to find the right buyers, the right purchasers, the right people who needed to refinance? And so the concept started thinking to me about what is the problem that would precede their ability to say yes fast. And so I started sitting back, and of course, at that time, there were people who had taken out mortgages, and those mortgages were at a higher interest rate than the going rate, the prime rate as they called it. And I don't remember exactly what the numbers were. This is over 25 years ago. And maybe the interest rate today was 6.5%, but for whatever reason, their interest rate was 8.5%. And they would buy a loan product that was tied to an index called the LIBOR index. It doesn't matter what the index is, you can go look at it, but the index would be higher than the prime rate. The risk was that this homeowner, who may have understood what they were buying when they bought the house, what they didn't know was that the problem, their loan was about to adjust. And in their mind, they thought that it was going to go from 9 down to the 6.5. Well, the way that these loans were written, because generally the people who had these loans didn't have great credit when they bought the loan was actually written in the note to actually go up by 2%. It didn't matter what the prime rate was. It was baked into the loan, and most people didn't even know it. So coming back to this problem that precedes the pain idea, I decided to do something that was quite unscalable. I would go down to the title company, and I would get a list of all of these mortgage companies that sold these LIBOR loans. And I would do a simple math calculation, literally on a calculator, and I would use a computer to literally type these letters and personalize every single one. And I would say, oh, if you bought your home in 1997, I'd jump back on the chart and find out what approximately the rate was, because you could see the history of the LIBOR rate. And I would say, oh, if you bought this loan at 8.5%, then did you know it's going to 10%? And the problem is, this is going to affect your monthly cash flow by this dollar amount. Now, obviously, I didn't have their mortgage statement and they were not in a refinance transaction, but my job was to point out a problem that might precede a purchase opportunity with me to do a refinance. That was the beginning of it all. Little did I know that I would fast forward to become a digital marketer and own a digital marketing agency now for the last 14 years after I tested that and we ran that to its limits in the mortgage industry. But this problem that precedes the pain is, I'm gonna make it real for you on a couple of different industries, because if you unlock this concept, your marketing will never be the same. And I know that might seem hyperbolic, but to take you back to that day, those days, I would write 200 to 300 letters by hand, typing them up, doing the mail merge, y'all, mail merge. I'm a little older than y'all, probably. I would do these mail merges at night. I'd take them down to the bulk post office on Monday, and I was converting at a time when when direct mail would get a 0.5% response rate. I was getting a 3 to 5% response rate. I was crushing it. People were like, oh, I didn't know. So I was pointing out a problem, right? Fast forward to digital. Let me give you a story in 2013. We had a plumbing company. Plumbing company wanted to really ramp up their water heater repair business. It's a high margin business, it's a high profit business for them, and it's an emergency for the consumer. So that consumer who ends up with a water heater repair issue, they want it fixed now o'clock. I can guarantee you, you don't want to take a cold shower anymore. Yeah, I know that all of this cold plunging is kind of popular these days, but most people, when they find out that their hot water heater's out and they happen to have taken a cold shower and now they're wondering, why is the hot water out, right? So the problem that precedes the purchase for their business and the way we crack the market for them, because by the way, that niche, very competitive, $20 to $40 in that particular marketplace per click on Google Ads. Why? Because everybody knows it's high margin. Everybody knows it's an emergency, which means it's a great customer acquisition vehicle. So we said, what's the problem that would precede the purchase? Some people would say, well, the hot water heater going out was the problem. No, that's the problem that you can fix. The problem we want to solve is the problem in their mind. Think about it. If someone had bought a home and was not in the field of construction and had no idea how plumbing went, and they took a hot shower or stuck their hand in a cold pot of dishes when they thought the dishwater was supposed to be warm, the first question in their mind is why? So we helped the client write a blog post about the 6 top reasons why the hot water heater might have gone out. Now, this isn't if in case the water heater blew up and now you got water spraying everywhere. That's the higher level emergency. We were wondering, could it be the pilot light? Could it be some? So I don't remember all the reasons why. But we got with the expert plumber. We wrote this article. That article ranked on the first page of Google for just about ever. And by that I mean it probably ranked online under the radar, and they were just acquiring customers like it was going out of style without having to spend money on Google Ads. Partly because they couldn't afford it, but because we solved this problem that precedes the purchase. Now, I can go on and on and on, but let me take you to just yesterday from the time of recording this episode inside of our inner circle and just walk you through how we helped one of our inner circle members work through this problem that precedes the purchase. Now, in this case, this customer of ours, this student of ours in our program, is selling something that she knows will revolutionize the way teams work in their organizations. In businesses, getting team collaboration is one of the harder things to do. Getting your team aligned, getting people all aligned with the growth initiatives and the projects and the timelines. Us humans, man, we can be son of a guns, can't we? But it's a natural challenge and a dynamic. Well, she has a product, a service, a process that can help companies resolve that, whether they're small companies with 3 to 5 team members or much bigger companies with 100 to 1,000 team members. Well, the reality is she's so passionate about the product, the prize, the pot of gold, as I say. But I said, but the person, your prospect, knows nothing about the product or the prize. So let's jump back and figure out what the problem is that they're having. And of course, you've heard me probably talk about the 11 o'clock at night exercise. Well, that exercise takes us into a deep discussion and a deep journey of discovery about the buyer persona, the problems, the frustrations, the challenges, the roadmaps, everything that's getting in their way, the roadblocks, of everything that's challenging the prospect who has the problem, but they're disconnected from the product or the pot of gold, as I like to say. As experts, as practitioners, as business owners, we've got the pot of gold, but we always go out and market the pot of gold like anybody cares. The vast majority about it, they only care about their problem. So we have to go back and figure out the problem, and what is that problem that could lead them to the pot of gold. So yesterday we spent 45 minutes in this particular strategy call, live in front of all of our other members, which, by the way, if you happen to want to become a member of the Inner Circle, there's a link down below. If you want this kind of framework added to your business, if you want to work with us in strategy calls, consider joining our Inner Circle community. It's right down, the link's down below. That being said, we spent about 45 minutes, walked her through all of some of the other methodologies that we have. But when we got to the 11 o'clock at night exercise and we started backtracking to the actual problem that could precede the purchase, it was magical. And once we found it, we saw that she already had that slide in her presentation, but it was buried in the back of the slide. And I said, all you have to do is bring that slide out, turn it into a lead magnet, and you are going to meet the person who has the problem that could precede the purchase. This may sound a little esoteric to you. This is human psychology. This is what I learned from Dr. Sigmund Freud back in the day, the pain versus pleasure principle. If you look back at psychology, people say that, the studies show, sometimes it's, disputed, but it's what I learned in the 90s, and that is we decide to do things on one of two reasons: the desire to acquire something that we want, or the need to avoid some sort of pain, right? The desire to go after something we want, or the need or the compelling reason to avoid something painful. And let me help you, my friend. When it comes to lead generation, when it comes to leads that convert, when it comes to a pipeline of growing your business, your job, your number one job, especially with people who are not yet in your sales pipeline, is to meet them at the point of the problem that could precede the purchase. We have done this not just in the companies that I've built, not just in the companies that we've helped, but in almost every company we work with or every member of our program that we help, we fix that one problem. You have the prize, you have the product, you have the quote unquote pot of gold. Your job is to resonate with the problem that is in their mind that could lead to the purchase. And when you resonate with that problem and you offer it to your market using our core framework, right? So I'm not going to spend time in this episode talking about core. We've got plenty of videos on the channel. We talk about it inside of Inner Circle. In fact, if you join the Inner Circle, the core methodology is one of the top methodologies you're going to learn. But we apply the core methodology lead framework to it, and all of a sudden leads convert to sales. So listen, I hope that served you, but I learned it from my curiosity in learning from this one gentleman who was the number 2 real estate agent in the state. And at that time, he would carry about 70 listings. He had 70 properties on the market at any given time. Now, I'm not a statistician to know how many properties were on the market in that time period, but I believe that 70 for any one agent was probably good. That's probably still good for real estate agents today to have 70 properties on the market. I got close to him. I noticed he was moving a different way. It triggered something in my mind. 5 years later, I enter the real estate mortgage industry. I go back and think, how can I pull something like that off? But I thought about the methodology, not so much his exact model, and I applied it and it became this idea of the TP3, which is the problem that precedes the purchase. Whenever we sit down and start working on lead generation campaigns for our clients or our members, we're trying to identify, are we finding the problem that precedes the purchase? And we build all of our lead gen, we build all of our content, we build all of our structure and our buyer's journey around that. So I hope you got some value out of that. Funky name for a framework, right? The problem that precedes the purchase. But we're in the growth business. Like, we have to find the little hinges that swing big doors. And for me and for our history, that's been one of the little hinges that swings really big doors when it comes to generating leads on all platforms, by the way, with cold traffic and getting them into sales pipelines that convert. So there's 2 choices that you might want to consider. One is to consider coming into our Inner Circle. Get in behind the scenes. Like, we go live. I'm there teaching live. I'm working with clients live. We're doing marketing live around all the topics you can think of. It's a very affordable membership. The link's down below. And on the second side, if you're moving further faster, you're 7-8 figure company, and you need some additional structure, some additional strategy, some additional support, you want us to see if some of our frameworks will help take you to the next level, then there should be a link below where you can reach out to our agency or just reach out to me anywhere you can find me on social media, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you about partnering to take your business to the next level. And if neither of those two options make sense for you right now, we'd love it if you enjoyed today's episode, hit the like, hit the follow, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're coming back for another episode. We'll be back next week. And until then, shift your mind so you can shift your results. I'll talk to you later. Peace.